Right, so I will formally open the meeting. Agenda item 1 of the minutes. Are you happy for me to sign the minutes of the meeting on the 6th of March as a true record? Thank you. Yeah, all in favour. Lovely, thank you very much. 2, urgent business. I'm not aware of any urgent business. Division of agenda. We will have to divide the agenda on the last item about the community asset transfer to Saltham. So that will do it. Public question time. Although Mr. Greycott's not here, shall I just read out the question and then answer it? I think that's easiest, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
So the question was, what was the shortfall in the collection of council tax in 24-25? What are the financial consequences of this? And given the uncertainty of such income, what plans exist should you not receive? And then he's going to say, exist should you not receive the whole 300,000 from second homes taxation earmarked for the purchase of St Anne's Chapel? So the amount of council tax bill for 24-25 was 99.468 million, of which 98.282 million has been collected in 25, equating to an in-year collection rate of 98.81 for the year. To put this into context, in 23-24 the council collected 98.35, so we're above that. We're 0.5% above that. And Southampton District Council was in the top quartile performance nationally for council tax collection. And the council was 25th out of a total of 164 district councils. So we're probably higher than that now. I mean, we're broken well into the top 20. So congratulations to Jenny and her team for all of that. The cost of the council of any write-offs is 8. Well, the cost of the council of any write-offs is 8% of the total council tax. So we get 8% of it. So when we're talking about 1%, it's 1% of 8% of that, if that makes sense. Basically, the county lose more because they get more. And the council continues to pursue debt by various means, such as special arrangements, attachment of earnings and benefits, enforcement agencies and charging orders, unless there is no other option but to write off the debt. The vast majority of residents pay their council tax. Some residents were generally struggling, and the council did what it could to support them. And again, I'd say that in these times, that the fact that our collection rate is so high is a good, is a credit to the team. Collection rates will be monitored throughout the year and reported to the council's overview and scrutiny committee through the performance reporting. So, with regard to St Anne's Chapel, obviously we will monitor the second home council tax, but I'm confident that if we do lose some, it will only be marginal and won't make it that much difference. And we can confirm that we've received the grant from the allocation from Homes England, and therefore we will be advertising those 3 properties and allocating them as socially rented houses in the short term, which is good news. Thank you. Right, no more public questions. Item 6, executive forward plan. Members, any comments, queries?
Losing to me, it's not this report.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Isn't there supposed to be a decarb report coming in June? July, actually.
There is indeed. Need to have that.
Right, so just a few edits on that. So the waste report is being moved to July rather than June, and there is a carbon reduction, Nadine, and that's coming in July, is it?
Yeah.
And that needs to be added. So, Jackie.
In the longer term, I would like to see us maybe think about our role in supporting young people. Devon County Council is currently cutting back further on its youth services. I'm really worried about it. There's a lot of people in Totnes are worried about the closure of the youth centre in Totnes without any real warning. Purchasing plans, and it seems that there's cutbacks, and yet we know all the time in the news that we're hearing problems with young people, particularly teenagers.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, what we're going to end up is a really big problem for 15, 20 years. It's bad enough now.
Yeah.
It's bad for them. And I think it's something that maybe we could consider going forward, because what I'm trying to say is that as we go into sort of looking at new unitaries, that we see how that is actually really,
Fits in,
on.
yeah.
and we've got our community services areas and things like that all happening at the moment. And I think maybe that's something that we could actually drive more into those agendas, because if we don't, and Devon sort of seems to be taking a very strange attitude on it, I just think it's really sad. And it's,
Jackie, might it be a suggestion that we'd ask overview and scrutiny to look at that?
yes,
Because,
Yes.
you know, that, so, I mean, do we need to, I mean, we can ask, I mean, Jonathan's the chair of it.
Mm.
We could ask him if he could put it on the agenda, or we could actually have an item that basically says, we will ask overview and scrutiny if they will.
Jonathan's always been very supportive anyway,
Yeah,
actually,
okay.
in fairness.
Chair, given that we're about to start the new municipal year, ONS will looking at its annual work programme, they can feed into that process at that time.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think, and then they can get witnesses, take evidence, and absolutely come back with how we can work in partnership with county or other agencies about how we deliver youth services.
And looking at that wider picture of the, because we've got between now and November to look at what,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree.
where that could fit in.
I mean, I think that that's going to be true of so many of the services that we deliver.
Yes.
Well, and that county
Yes.
delivers actually. Yeah,
Well, we dropped it a long time ago when we was officer here,
yeah.
but it's, it seems to be just kicked into the long grass left, right.
So,
And it fits into our carbon
Yeah.
plan, actually, because it's all about the next generation.
yeah, Jackie, I mean, just on an action point there, I mean, can I ask, can I leave that with you, that you will speak to Jonathan
Oh,
and to try and
Yeah.
move that forward? Yeah,
he was very supportive, actually, when I set up the frame, 12 years ago, when we started.
yeah. Okay.
conversation. So he's well up for it, yeah.
All right, good. Members, any more questions on that? I think it's for noting, we just got with those two minor amendments that the waste goes to July, and we've got a carbon plan coming up on that. Right, so agenda item 7 is year 1 council plan closure report. You've got it there before you. I mean, we've spoken about it before. Neil.
He's on.
Neil.
Yeah, what's online?
Hi, Neil. Good to see you.
Morning, members.
And thanks for tweaking this. I think it's a lot more sort of candid and upfront about what we have and what we haven't achieved, which I think is good. I think the public want to know that we're not perfect. We make mistakes and we don't do everything we want to do, but we're striving to do the best we can. I think that comes across well now. So thank you for that. Did you want to do any introductions or any highlights on that, Neil?
No, I think just for members that maybe weren't at exec briefing, just to say that this report sets out the progress of the milestones within the year 1 delivery plan. Members will know that we have adopted a 3-year delivery plan, or the executive adopted a 3-year delivery plan and council back in March. But this really sets up the progress against specific milestones. I think it's fair to say lots of the actions in the delivery plan span many years. Some of them will span the next 3 years, and some will span beyond that. So the report really reflects on any specific milestones due within year 1, rather than actions, just to build on what Councillor Brazil was saying. But other than that, I think it demonstrates overall positive progress in terms of the milestones, but more to be done, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, thank you, Neil. I think that sums it up nicely. I mean, we can always do better, and that's what we're going to try and strive to do. Members, any comments? Nikki?
1.9.2 regenerative farming. It says that, no, we're not.
No.
I'm way ahead, sorry.
Yeah, you've always been ahead of the game. Nikki.
Well, there you go. That's why I am wearing.
Yeah.
It failed.
Yeah. No, so anything on the year? No. Okay. So any more on that? So it's just a noting exercise, really. So we are happy to note it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good. Right. Agenda item 8. You've been forewarned, John. You've got to on the regenerative farming. Yeah. Over to you.
Okay, right. So this is a report on the way forward in respect of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. And if you paragraph 1.1 of the report, it reports on the award from government for the forthcoming financial year. And you'll see that the monies went to a Devon Combined Authority, who in turn allocated to us the sum of £275,000 for this financial year. And as it states at 1.2 of the report, the council, we have a strong track record of delivery under the programme, and we've supported more than 300 businesses and community organisations, and we've achieved more than 500 outcomes against a wide range of objectives. We've secured a national award from the NFU for innovation, and the programme received an audit verdict of substantial assurance. So for how are we going to spend the 275,000, can I just make the point, this is revenue spending, not capital. So you'll see that we set out at 1.6 the factors that we've considered in how we go about spending this money. And if you turn to 1.9, we've listed the projects that it is proposed we undertake. So there's the Agri Innovation Programme, there's the Regenerative Farming and Agricultural Land Consultancy, decarbonisation plans, community energy group support, construction sector support, which includes delivering decarbonised construction projects. And then in addition to that, we aim to focus on the visitor economy, and that's dealt with in the next item on the agenda. So with the report, we have at Appendix 1 the detailed outputs and outcomes for the last financial year, and Appendix 2 that contains case studies. Now, in addition to the report on this fund, there is an issue that has occurred, which we ought to, as an executive, consider under this item, and that is the Rural England Prosperity Fund. In the past, we've received funding from the government for this under this fund, and it has been substantial. This time, the government have decided to allocate to Devon 1.8 million, and the combined authority have, in their wisdom, allocated to us the sum of £252,955, which I think in all probability we can live with. However, there is a kick to this in that we have been awarded this sum, but the combined authority have indicated or may have aspirations to spending that on our behalf, which we need to vigorously resist. So there is an amendment to the recommendation which deals with that. So you'll see what it states is that the Rural England Prosperity Fund proposal submitted to the Combined County Authority, that is, we have put a proposal to them on how we're going to spend that funding, is that it says to continue to use the funding, that's the 252,955, to deliver grants to businesses and community groups as with previous years, aligned to the council's priority. Furthermore, the executive requests officers to write to the CCA thanking them for passporting this money to the districts, as has been agreed prior to its formation, and to encourage them to mirror that approach with REF-PF funding. In other words, lay off our funding. That is the subtext. So that is why that is included within the recommendation. So I don't know whether Chris want to add to what I've said.
If I can just add, so we were contacted by the CCA last Tuesday, asking us to develop proposals for how we would want to use this year's allocation of rep funding, if it came to us, with a deadline of getting a response to them by Thursday. So the timescale for turning this around has been ridiculously short, to be blunt about it. I mean, even with previous rounds of UKSBF, MHCLG, the government department gave us sort of 12 weeks to turn things around and to pull proposals together. So it's been an incredibly tight timescale. So there's not really been much option for us to explore other avenues, although we can demonstrate that our grant programme for the past sort of 18 months that we've been delivering has reached a lot of our communities and has really been distributed widely across the district, and hasn't just been focused on certain areas. So our proposal to continue down that route, we have already had members approach us saying we've got groups that are in our area that would benefit from funding. This is capital funding, by the way, so just to be clear on that. And so given that our previous grant scheme came to a close at the end of March, having something in its place would probably be of benefit to our communities still.
Yeah, no.
So thank you very much, Chris. And just to say, Chris informed me on Thursday, and I authorised him to write to the CC on those grounds, on the basis that to fail to do so would provide them with the opportunity to say that we hadn't taken the opportunity to respond. So I hope you'll forgive us for doing that, but I think it was absolutely the right thing to do, and I thank Chris very much for doing so. And as he's already explained, the proposal is entirely consistent with the way in which the money has been used so well by this council in the previous year. So thank you, Chris, for that.
Jackie.
I think this is an example of classic top-down stuff that is just getting worse and worse at the moment. And I just think, I've been really impressed about and really pleased to be part of as part of this council is that those grants have been available, and I've been able to say, I'll just give Chris a shout and see how you get on. That there's that opportunity to make it really simple and straightforward for people who perhaps haven't had grants before, make that approach and just really therefore bring in very new innovation and making a really widespread and bottom up. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like, we just write a few words and just send it in 2 days. You can't do it, so I think it's good that you responded and hopefully they get the message. But what I was going to say was, is there not the Team Devon still meeting? Are other districts being treated like this, or I assume it probably is that somebody slipped up and just sent a quick note out, said get me a reply by Thursday.
Well, I can answer that partially.
Yeah.
So there was a conversation in the Team Devon meeting about the allocation of UK SPF.
Yeah.
And there was an agreement in principle by Devon County leader and the district leaders that the apportionment of the much reduced UK SPF would be on the same proportion as the previous fund. But that was obviously a decision for the new combined authority to formally do. So that all happened, but there has been no conversation about the rep funding. But our expectation would have been that the same approach was followed, and until the conversation on last week, that would have been my anticipation. So,
And I can confirm as well that I've looked at how the funding has been apportioned to the different districts, and it is fair in terms of the amount that's being allocated to Southam. So it's done on the same calculation as the UK SPF.
That is probably
it's the principle of the passporting. Council
Yeah.
officers. So
Yeah.
the principle of the passporting was agreed in Team Devon with regard to UK SPF, and it's that bit which is at risk through the current approach.
Well, I would just say, we've got a few county councillors here, it leaves us to kind of make representation along the line about that, because it's not good enough, and it makes it exclusive to the very people who are trying to reach.
To be fair, the county was supportive of the
Yeah.
passporting, and the Team Devon conversation happened before the combined authority formally came into existence.
The 5th of March.
Yeah, so
It's a bit fast, aren't they?
So we knew that the decision would both need to be formally made through that. So I think there might be just a little bit of a hiccup here in terms of the CCA not perhaps appreciating the will of the Devon authorities.
But we could do that, couldn't we?
Well, we could, but I mean, of course, it's a CCA, Jackie, so it's a different
Yeah.
different organisation. It's not the county. This is the CCA.
I recognise that, realise that, but what I'm saying is, if we, you know, at least we can make a bit of noise, which sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, anyway, yeah.
Anyway, well,
Yeah, of course. I mean, I fully support what Chris and what John is proposing here.
Yeah.
You know, this is not these small pockets of money, and I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but actually it is and it isn't. And they are much more efficiently used at a local level where it can be signposted. So,
Yeah.
so absolutely support this
Yeah.
100%. And thank you for bringing that to attention, John.
Yeah.
Right. Nikki, did you want to ask about
Been answered, thank you.
Right, okay, good. And any more questions on this? Thank you, Chris and John for this. It looks really good. I mean, and well done with the award. I mean, that's brilliant. Yeah, so did you want to propose
So I'll propose the recommendation as amended.
and the third one there as well? So that's 3. Are we all in support of that, please show?
That's carried unanimously for the recommendations.
Thank you very much. Right, you again, John, over to
Yeah,
you.
part 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we going to spend the money or some of the money? So the proposal in this paper is that the funding that we've just discussed is the part of it go in the commissioning of a study into the visitor economy. So as the paper sets out, tourism is a key part of the local economy. It contributes approximately 10% of the employment in South Hams, and in the year 2023, it was estimated that just over £266 million was spent in South Hams as a result of the visitor economy. So it is an important part, and quite obviously it's important that we give it an element of priority. So what do we do to help? Well, it sets out at 1.3 that we deliver a range of activities to support this vital sector, and we work with a range of stakeholders, including the town councils, local chamber of commerce, destination management organisations, as well as the newly formed Devon and Partners Local Visitor Economy Partnership. And also we're undergoing carrying out the town economic plans, which are also incorporating within it the visitor element. So the report sets out how, in more detail, how we're supporting the tourist sector, and as it states at 5.3 of the report, there is an opportunity to spend £10,000 on preparing this report, and then a further £10,000 of support. So what's set out at 6.1 is if members approve the recommendation, then officers will commission a study into the visitor economy immediately, with the aim of completing the work over a 3-month period. And then this will allow a small pilot program of support to be put in place to support the visitor economy. There's this document that is floating around South Devon. I actually picked it up at Plymouth Railway Station about all the highlights of visiting South Devon, and it lists in there Dartmouth, it lists in there Totnes, but that's about it as far as South Hams is concerned. I mean, there is much more to the visitor economy than just Dartmouth and Totnes. There are a lot of other places that we need to seek to encourage people to visit. So, I mean, I think part of the report needs to deal with how we can attract visitors, not just to the honeypots plot, but also to the rest of South Hams. So I hope that's one of the areas which we'll cover. So, Chris, do you want to add anything to the report?
actually, just to you know, to get that deeper understanding of our visitor economy in its widest sense, and then to, you know, what we're allocating in the UKSPF allows for the study of the visitor economy in a similar way to what was undertaken with the marine economy previously, and which helped shape our marine projects that spun out of UKSPF. And then there's a small amount of funding behind that as well to deliver some support to the visitor economy off the back of the findings. But we're hoping that the report would identify where there are opportunities that we can be taking advantage of in South Hams, so that we can direct the support to steer the visitor economy in that direction.
Jackie, and then I'll come to you now, Dean.
It's nothing like saying about the good old days, but when I first joined this council, there was a big visitor and tourism element. They used to report into ONS, and there was that funding was all cut. And I just wonder if there's anything useful that we used to do that might be useful to have a look at. Certainly the whole thing of bringing the promotional stuff together, one-stop shop, that kind of thing, was, I think, deemed as very useful and very much regretted when that was taken out. And the other thing I was going to say was, I think there's another element to the tourism, and particularly sort of like the staycation stuff that's kicked off during COVID, is the well-being elements. I mean, we're talking about it, you know, in indirect ways with that active travel and things, but I think a lot of people do come to these parts just to have a weekend refresher away. And one of the things that is happening, I mean, I've got my own place, is the rewilding. A lot of people are just loving going to do, you know, the simple stuff. So I wonder if that's something that we should really bear in mind. Being as we've done all this tree planting, we might get a few free volunteers as well into the mix. But I think that whole thing of that more integrated sort of like visitor experience, it's changed from just, you know, turning up in your fancy car and sort of spending, you know, some money in a cafe. It's much more diverse than I think it was 10 years ago.
And hopefully that's what this report will help us doing. Can I just say a word of warning, Jackie, is that also before you were a councillor, this council spent an inordinate amount of money on booking. Nikki, you may have been around there. Do you remember that sort of booking thing that they tried doing? Where we tried basically trying to do the job of the tourism trade, and it was an unmitigated disaster and cost us about £800,000.
But equally, it was like a very early days of websites being very functional. I mean, websites are far more sort of you know.
But what I'm just saying is that we need to be wary that we don't, you know, this is not, you know, that we should be facilitating rather than.
You don't get into the granular stuff.
No. Okay.
B and B.
Nadine.
Mine kind of echoes what Jackie was saying, in that we've got marketing contractors with Visit Devon, Visit South Devon. Can we have them visit in the room, explaining what they are doing for the work to promote us out there, and why only Dartmouth and Totnes are listed in magazines like that? Is it worth?
Well, what's interesting about this document, you can't actually find out who published it. The publishers are anonymous.
I think it's I think it's.
Well, it doesn't say in the document. So, and I mean,
That's illegal, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah. So,
The other thing was that in point 4, it says that we are going to be investing more in our facilities and our assets to improve the visitor experience, which I think is something that has been lacking thus far, or maybe not lacking, maybe just could be enhanced some. I mean, before I was a councillor, I sent many an email trying to set up a coffee food truck on some Southlands land and couldn't get anywhere with anyone. And I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for us to be providing picnic benches, coin-operated barbecues, public toilets with notice boards and maps of where you can go.
Yeah. I mean, what you say there, Nadine, is exactly what I hope the report will highlight, where we can actually do something physical to support it. And if it does mean that we need to make it slightly more user-friendly, then absolutely, yeah. And I hope that the report comes to that. John, just a couple of questions from me. I mean, I have to say that the anecdotal evidence that I got from the last year was that when you talk about an 8% increase in spend, that's not what I'm hearing from anecdotally. I just wondered how the methodology that they use in order to say how they're calculating that spend.
Is that relative to price increases on everything? Is that the?
Well, it may be, and that's what I mean. But I mean, what I heard was that it was a massive decrease in footfall, and actually people weren't spending as much. So now maybe.
But that was 2023. This is information that's coming from the report that was prepared in 2023.
Okay.
So I think we're nearly 2 years further on. But that's but also that actual report shows that there has been a decline since I think they first started reporting in 2005, and there's been a marked decrease in visitors since 2005.
Okay.
And I think, and this is on the face of it, looks as though this is going to continue, and therefore we need to make certain that it doesn't continue in South Hams. It may continue elsewhere, but we've got to do something or take steps to attract people to South Hams that so that we are not in this national trend of decreasing visitor numbers.
How are the numbers reported? Because if it was hotels and bus companies, I mean, the way people travel and stay places has changed a lot. So I wonder if that comes into the numbers.
Well, it says if you look at the end of the report, page 39, the background document is the Southwest SW Research and Company presentation slides. So that there is that document. I think it has been circulated to members. All the information that we're referring to in this report comes from that. So it's not information that we've gathered. We're relying on information.
If I may just very quickly, so if you do want me to go back to the SW Research Company and ask specific questions about the data and how it's been collated, then I'd be more than happy to do that and share a response.
Could I suggest we look forward rather than back?
Yeah.
Because the whole point of the recommendation that Councillor Birch is making is that we need a much more granular understanding of the tourism economy in South Hams, and all of that data will be aggregated data from national data sources. So I think the answer is in the recommendation, actually, myself, and it would be better to really do that work thoroughly.
Yeah.
Have a proper understanding of the realities in South Hams, and then we'll know precisely what to do, as opposed to making interpretations from broader research.
No, I think that's absolutely right. Just one thing, when I bumped into a lady yesterday who was on the Dartmouth Chamber of Commerce. She now works for the Tourism Centre in Dartmouth. She's very well connected, sort of nationally within the tourism sector. I think it would be.
Chris and I have met with the person you mentioned.
Well, it's not Joe.
No,
not Joe. It's the lady who she came with. She's sort of, Joe's gone, is playing her own furrow in a different direction. But this lady is purely around tourism, and I think she'd be an incredibly useful person, because she sits on various national boards of tourism, so she has experience from other areas as well. I will give you her name.
Contact
Yeah, will do, absolutely. Good. Nadine, did you want to say any more, or are you okay? Well, thank you, John. I mean, I think that it fits well with our idea of markets, of a festival, and all that, and I think it's super important that we should press on with those. So that's good. Right.
I'll move the recommendation.
Yeah, and I'm happy to second that. All those in favour?
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, John. Agenda item 10. Victor, well, I'm sure Jackie will be. So it's your ward.
It's thank you. This is a lovely little site tucked away. I've been on 2 site visits in this area before, not known this existing swimming pool was there. You may well have been to things happen here, the pizza place or the pub track, but still not have seen this swimming pool. So the opportunity here is to extend it. It's a 20-metre pool at the moment, and it can become a 25-metre pool sometime, Jackie. I'd like to talk to you about some detail on that, but out of the meeting. So this report asked the executive to approve the investment of just over £88,000 of Section 106 funds. And this will be for refurbishment, extension. They originally dug this out by hand themselves with volunteers, and it's 1.9 meters deep at the deepest. And it's going to have extra facilities for disabled access as well. But the whole project is probably going to be going towards £1 million. So although 88,000 is significant in terms of us today forwarding a sum, it's really match funding or seed corn to get the project more widely underway. They intend to do so much. The park is a well-used local community hub with other facilities, including, as I've been mentioning, the pizzeria, but also a brewery, playground, accessible woodland bike track, which came before the DMC, open space and sports ground. They even have a tennis court converted to a bike training place. So there were toddlers going around on balance bikes and other things. It's all just a lovely site. It's delivered by Dartington Recreation Association, and the local community has helped to shape the plans. The recent planning application received 334 letters of support and no objections. The proposal is for a refurbished and extended pool with improved accessibility. The pool will be renewably heated, and solar panels are already in place on the pre-existing what was, possibly is still the football grounds changing room on the roof. It's all installed, and it's going to be 2 heat pumps as well. Perhaps there are 2 heat pumps, so that the heating is all going to be renewable. Investing in this project will help provide a much improved community resource, increasing sports and leisure participation, helping to improve the health and well-being of participants. And it is open to everybody. You have to pay for parking.
On the 6th.
Not up to 6.
I negotiated that years ago.
Right.
Oh, we'll look into that.
Through the Ringo app. Trusted system, and but there's lots of facilities there open to anyone who can travel to Dartington. There we go. My thanks, of course, to Alexis for helping with this report, and on the recommendations, I hope that you'll be happy to take them on.
No, thank you, Victor. Yeah, no, lovely. Jackie, did you want to say something? And Alexis, nice to see you. Feel free to jump in at any point if you want to comment or make something we may have missed.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'd like to thank Dartington Recreation Association really for progressing the project. It's groups like them that help to deliver these projects for our residents, and hopefully through allocating some Section 106 money, as Councillor Abbott said, it will provide some seed funding and help them on the way to getting the significant funding that they need to take the project forward. So, and if there are any questions, yeah, I'm happy to answer them.
So yesterday I met with the representative from Dartington Trust and Mark Burton, who's the chair of the DRA, because what he was talking about to them was not only this part of the project, but also the wider energy hub project that's going in there. So as Councillor Abbott has already said, there's solar panels on one of the roofs. They've got a number of buildings there, which including the school. So there's the Bidwell Brook School. So the disabled students, profoundly disabled students of Bidwell Brook will be able to use this pool. At the moment, they have to get 2 buses a week into Totnes. That's not easy with all the children. It's very expensive. It's very heavy on sort of teacher and things. So they were really welcoming this, and they will have advantage of it. There's a Robbins Respite Centre there, which is, again, it's a residential unit for profoundly disabled young people. There's the Church of England School, primary school, just literally over the narrow road. And then it's very central to all the new development that this actually funding has come from. So it's a really well-placed community centre, and as has been said, the DRA have done a fantastic job in actually reinventing themselves really, because it was a bit sort of quiet. It was a very funny old community centre that was members only written on the wall for years and put everybody off. And a new great breed of younger parents and families came in and have just done a fantastic job at seeing the light. But the energy hub will mean that this is actually a renewable energy project as well. So it'll be a heated outdoor swimming pool, which means it can be used all year round, you know, even if you like the ice. I don't. But anyway, good for them. But it's, you know, it's making it very, very accessible. And the energy hub will be a progressive project that goes around it. So they've just gradually increased the amount of renewable energy coming in there as for the whole thing. And, you know, their bigger project, of course, will be to replace the somewhat tired old community hall. But this is part of that work. And it's just actually getting things going as they progress rather than waiting till the big one comes along. So this is fantastic. And I thank actually our officers and the fact that we've been able to, you know, as an organisation are able to do this really good work directly with groups doing such good work themselves. So, yep, and I invite everybody to go on a Friday night and enjoy a pizza, sitting out there and watching everybody just having a lovely time. It's brilliant, actually. You might have to wait about an hour for the pizza because it's big orders. I was sitting there a couple of weeks ago and I reckon they sold about 350 pizzas that night. Not bad going, is it? So, and that's all putting money into the project.
Yeah, Jackie, just on that, can I ask? I mean, obviously it's a fantastic project. I mean, I hope everyone will really support it. And maybe you're not the right person to ask here, but what about the ongoing costs of it? You know, maintaining it, keeping it heated, cleaning it, all the revenue.
They've got a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
But they haven't really managed to organise themselves to have kind of paid employees, except through things like pizzeria. That's kind of for a not-for-profit company, as far as I know. They've got a brewery there again. So there's these small enterprises that are contributing money into the project. Okay. But they've really, I mean, they do need to find a way to have sort of like a paid admin. But I think that will kind of come in time. And I hope that that's something that maybe with some of the revenue funding that we might be able to get through renewable energy that might help them forward, because it would certainly speed up, I think, their ability to look for the wider grants. Dartington Parish Council is very supportive. So they're looking at this as well in terms of its contribution.
Okay. Well, that's good. You know, just to sort of, without wanting to be a downer on it, that we need to be aware that if they suddenly say, well, we've got this fantastic facility, but it costs £100,000 a year to fund it, we don't have that 100,000. Where's that coming from?
No, they've got a very good volunteer system.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. As long as they're aware of that, that's good.
Actually doing this, making it happen. I mean, Mark Burton's been there for a long time involved. Dartington Hall Trust, when we met with them yesterday, very supportive and said they would provide letters of support as may be needed for extra funding applications that may go out, and also that they've got a very wide membership. I think 32,000 that would actually be able to help with the crowdfunder at some point too.
Yeah. No, well, I mean,
they've got good plans in place.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well,
they're a kind of mature organisation.
Yeah, no, that's great. And wish them every success. And anyone else want to say anything on this? No, well, I think it's an excellent use of 106, and thank you, Alexis, for sort of steering everyone and keeping it all to keep moving on. That's good. And Victor. So, did you want to
formally? Do I formally
propose the app? And did you want to second that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Jackie, and all those in favour, please show.
It's unanimous, the 3 recommendations. Thank you, Dan.
Excellent. Thank you. Look forward to Friday evening at the bar. Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Agenda item 11, private sector housing update. Denise.
We have Dave Sexton here, who's a very good officer in this area, and Ian Ruscombe as well. So I'll ask him to talk about his work, as he's obviously knowledgeable than I am. But just to briefly introduce a very positive report showcasing the very varied and important work of our environmental control team, which is working hard to improve the conditions of the homes of our tenants and thus their mental and physical well-being. The government introduced new legislation to secure improvements in this area, and the officers have, as I said, an important role in responding to complaints from social housing tenants and private tenants. The council plan that we have In the field of housing, the priority is to tackle damp and disrepair in rental properties. And the work that we do in tackling this includes inspections and enforcement in private sector housing, home upgrade grants to reduce running costs in the housing, and disabled facility grants, which come from government, and they are to adapt homes for more independent living. So as you see, a variety of things that the offices do. And I know that they have spent all that 1.6 million grant, I think it was, a disabled facility grant in the last year. So that's excellent news, they've been able to help people. And there's some examples at the end of the report in the appendix. Just to say, in January last year, we, as a council, did promote a quicker way for residents to get in touch with us via our website if they had unresolved issues with the state of their rented homes. And the council wrote to social landlords, stressing the need for them to comply with the existing legislation. That was following the death of Awab Ishak, I think is the name, in a damp and mold-ridden flat. It was only 6 or something like that, in Rochdale. And to reinforce that, in the last few weeks, Dave's brought out a very good leaflet, which is online, and we've got a lot of paper copies, which are in the members' room for councillors and have been given out to citizens' advice, for example. And councillors can give them out to their local surgeries, food banks, etc., to make people aware that if they have unresolved issues with damp, disrepair, etc., they can contact the council, and we will do our best to help them. And that's probably enough from me. Dave will be able to. Nikki, did you have a question before I go?
Just sorry, I've just seen Mr. Fairbairn that it's disabled facilities grants are mentioned here, and I have a property that received a disabled facility grant that I rent out. Do I have to declare interest? Oh, sorry.
Nadine?
I have some feedback on the leaflet, if I may. It says it's important that you know what your rights are and when know what your rights are when it comes to housing issues. It doesn't tell you how to find out what your rights are when it comes to housing issues.
Right. Well, I guess you contact the council. That's the point. To contact the council to discuss with us what, how we can help.
Yeah,
I'll pass over to David at this point.
We will signpost them to shelter because they're the legal experts regarding tenant rights, but particularly around evictions.
Can a link be included in the leaflet?
Version, yeah, definitely version 2. We'll put that link in.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, obviously, you can't put everything in the leaflet. It's just brief, and then it sort of signposts you to council for your, individual issue. But yes, I mean, we can tweak it, modify it.
Yeah, there's certainly shelters to go to organisation.
Yeah.
Particularly around, it may be citizen advice as well. Maybe able to help out as well. So there's a few tenant charities out there as well. So there's a little bit of a complicated sort of landscape, but shelter usually is the go-to organisation.
Okay, that would be really useful to add to it. Other than that, it is really useful. Like you should do all of these things with speaking to the landlord before then reporting to the council is a really useful checklist for people to do.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent leaflet, Dave. It's very clear and very simple. It's not blinding people with too much verbiage and jargon, as it were. And that's, I think, is what's required. And then people can, as I said, go to us to find out more. But yes, we can always improve things. Dave, can I hand over to you to just give a bit more detail on what we've been doing, because I think it's really excellent work, and maybe some of the examples. There's some enforcement examples, and where we've helped people adapt their home and they've been able to live better lives as a result.
Councillor Callaghan, can I
Yeah.
nip in before,
Yeah,
if you don't mind? I'd just like, as the head of service for this team,
Yeah.
I'd just like to shine a light on the exceptional performance that the team have produced in terms of the disabled facilities grant. That spend of £1.6 million of the year is phenomenal. Involves a huge amount of work, but also involves a huge amount of care for those people who we are providing the grants to. They are generally vulnerable people, and we try to support people through quite complex adaptations and huge disruption of their lives through somebody coming into their home, and anyone who's had builders in knows what a disruption that is. And I just wanted to say that the team have done that really, really well this year. We get some really good feedback. And also looking at the home upgrade grants that we have been able to deliver. I think the latest number is 48. 47 completed home upgrade grants, which is a grant which involves a full house retrofit of energy efficiency measures, which again is very disruptive to the person who's receiving that support, but also pretty life-changing in the sense of making their property a lot more efficient, which means that obviously reduces the carbon footprint, but also significantly reduces the bills that person's having to pay for energy going forward. And I think each one of those 47 adaptations has got a real powerful story behind it. And we hope to bring that out with improved communications over the next year, just looking back over what impact some of that work has had. And once we've had a full year of data to sort of quantify, the saving in the bills and the reduction in carbon emissions from the work we've done. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I think I might just carry on with with the home upgrade grant. Yeah, we're in our final week of installs. Finally.
I see you've got another year coming up now.
I've got 3 years to go now. Yeah, I must be mad, but no, but there's something I'm really passionate about, and Helen, who does all the hard work, reconciling all the quotes, the invoices, what's going on and what have you. And without that I would have been in a bit more of a sticky situation. It is a very complex project. I've just literally come off we got 2 meetings a week with our installer, and we've got something called a retrofit coordinator who signs off all the work. And we've got one tricky one at the moment where we've done the work. The coordinator is not happy with the evidence being provided, and we need to go back, take the photographs, but the resident won't let us back in because it is complex. They got vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So now we've got to work out how we're going to go and get that evidence, stuff like that. So that's, like I said, some of the tricky stuff. But the good news is, like I said, we should be landing on 47 properties of a capital spend of just over £1 million. We've got some ancillary costs on top of that, so there's another like 15% on top of that. So Helen and I are already starting to reconcile our accounts, start to look to close it all down now. We get one more payment. I think we've been paid about 1.5 million. So obviously there's across West Devon as well. We're due more money just to pay off all the rest of our outstanding work and our commitments. But to give you a sort of flavour of where the completions are. So we did a property in Punchestown, which is just across the road, cost of 24,600. It started on an EPC of F, it's now a B. With an estimated CO2 saving of 4 tonnes a year. We did one in the Carrions, which was a cost of 23,000. That started on an E, that's now finished on an A on an EPC. Beach Close, £24,000 spend. That was started on a D, finished on a B. So you can see these are quite significant savings and improvements we're doing to these properties. It is, like I said, a challenge, but like I said, there is some good results coming out.
Fantastic. Nikki.
Can I just ask a question, please? So on these properties, they're private rented?
Privately owned.
Privately owned. So because obviously the banding going up so much puts an added value on the house immediately. So is there any retention on it from the council for when they sell, that some of that money comes back? Because obviously they're going to sell the house with more profit in it, which is great, but
it's public money that's got it.
Yeah, it's public money that's got them to be able to make more money, and that seems a little bit unfair. We should be clawing back some of that money.
I did think about it. Obviously it's government money, there's government rules. There is no stipulation in that government, like DFG, there's a stipulation for a land charge. There isn't under home upgrade grant, which I do agree, like I said, there is no, they can select tomorrow. But I look at it in a two-way situation. As one, it's a fuel poverty. Let's get people warmer in their homes so their health improves, etc., etc. But also as well, from a carbon saving point of view, so that property is now being improved. And overall, in a bigger national picture, that one property is doing this little bit to help reduce the carbon down. But under warmer homes, we're something we are reviewing whether there is scope to, because under home upgrade we did a lot of learning. I had a lot, how to do this. So yeah, so if we were able to, we would. I said I'm quite happy to put land charges on, but there was no stipulation.
Yeah, because I understand that the house has been improved, there's carbon savings, but there's still no clawback.
No, I think from what David's saying is it happens with the disability facility.
Yeah, it's written into that.
And maybe we should ask government just to tweak the legislation so there is a land charge on it.
No, David said he could put one on.
Well, you can do it optionally, but yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, maybe we should. I mean, it's something that we could look into.
Absolutely.
Because I think, as Nikki says, if somebody sells up or for whatever reason, they have to move or whatever, and then they're going to benefit from the investment that, to be fair, it's government money. It's not our money.
But it is our money.
It is it's public money.
Yeah.
But it's not council tax.
No, but it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's an interesting point. Yeah. But I mean, so that's something that maybe we could think about. Yeah.
I mean, by all means, whilst they're in the house, they benefit from the fuel savings, which is fantastic. So I just think we're missing. We should.
Yeah, I totally agree. We do. We do find it as a barrier as well. If so, we stop. I know we've.
If you say we're going to put a land charge on, then they go, "Well, we're not having it."
We're not having it.
So that I think there needs to be a balance there.
Yeah.
So-
Nadine, that comes to you, Jackie.
I can attest to that in that my landlady won't entertain any house upgrades, even though the house is very much in need of it, because of a previous system where if she was then to sell the house, she'd owe someone loads of money. So she
Well, I
won't.
think from what Dave's saying, is that not the case? So you can inform her that she can get it all done
as a
And then sell and make a profit.
Yeah. Well, as it stands, but I think there's always a balance that if people won't do it because they're worried about that they're going to owe money to somebody, and it puts them off, then often, as Dave said, these incredibly vulnerable people and that kind of thing makes them anxious and nervous about it. Although, like you said, I mean, if it was worth 100,000 without it, and then it's worth 130,000 with it, then the fact that they've got to pay 10,000 back is they've made 20,000 out of it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you, Nikki, but it's life's not that simple, unfortunately.
It is in my world.
Yeah. Jackie.
With the communities grants that we were able to help move forward some of the community land trusts, that was a kind of recyclable money. So in other words, money came back in as it was like a loan. And I'm just wondering if maybe it could be, make the grant available, obviously, but maybe have a 10-year thing. So if after 10 years, the land charge would drop. But it means if they sort of like having a nice new upgrade, they then sell within 10 years. And that might make it a little bit more palatable.
Possibly. I think, I mean, what Nadine's, example is where somebody hasn't done something which should have actually been for the common good.
Yeah.
Because they were nervous about it. So I think it's not as simple as just saying, oh, well, you've made money. That they just feel if there's a land charge on my house, then suddenly I don't own my house.
Amount of spending, maybe some under a certain amount, fine. But if they're over a certain amount, a lot worse. Significant value increase. But there must be some subtle.
Well, then possibly. I mean, look, we do it with the Disabled Facilities Grant. So
yeah, but it's good news.
Yeah, no, I have to say, and congratulations, Davey. And I mean, I think that those stories that you do is everything that we as a council, try and do to be, supportive of the most vulnerable. And it's great that I know that you've done incredibly well with the 1 and 2 hug money, and now you've got another lot. You're a victim of your own success.
I would have had more.
Well, of course. And I mean, funny enough, I mean, I do think that government should look at this and think, maybe that this is the way forward, because it does in the longer term, it does actually save. Well, you know, saves energy, saves carbon, saves these people, you know, the cost of energy. So it's, you know, I do think there is a medium to longer term win here, although it costs up front.
I've been on a number of government calls. I've been to Whitehall over Hug, and the power of Treasury behind it all is quite amazing.
All right, okay. That's good to hear.
Treasury don't really trust us because there's been they are
Because we get things done.
yeah, I know. It's more of a under. It's been like green home grants before that. As a whole, local government have not really delivered.
Okay.
So we are on the last chance saloon, basically.
Okay. Well, I think we're an example of where we have delivered. So yeah, no, well done, Union team. It's brilliant.
Just wanted to mention the disabled facility grants were mentioned. Just in the appendices, there's some examples. What they really, one or two of them, the wheelchair user who was able after getting the adaptation to go into his garden and watch birds, which she couldn't do before, and that's very. It's just a simple thing, but it's absolutely life transforming for that person.
I see Michelle's on the call here. Obviously, we can't do anything now, but I do think in future we should try and publicise this. You know, because these are, you know, real people who's made a real change to their quality of life. And also to try and say to government, look, you know, the money you're spending is being used really well here, and you know, please keep the taps on because we'll deliver.
Well, we've got testimony as well, haven't we?
Yeah,
you've got testimony from the people who've benefited.
Well, there was also the elderly person who was able to have a level access shower and hadn't been able to have a proper shower in 4 years because of the setup was he was unable to do, and it just strikes home, you know, all the talk about grants and facilities and the rest of it, what it actually means to the real people. And I think that's really important that we do publicise this sort of thing. Obviously, we don't want to publicise people's details, but you know, their personal details, but the actual impact it has in the real world, I think is really important.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to the team.
Yeah, no, brilliant.
Yes, brilliant.
Good. Well, thank you, Denise, for that as well. So that's just for noting. So we'll have to note that. Good. So we will now have to divide the agenda. That in accordance with section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press is excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following items of business in order to avoid the likely disclosure to them of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of 1 of Schedule 12A to the Act.
Close.
Yes, yes, okay. You know what I mean. Yeah. So yes, I'll propose that. Can I have a second for that? Are we all happy to exclude the press and public?
Yeah, we are entering part 2. I'll just make sure Mr. Gardner has stopped recording.